Okay, super off the cuff and honest take here. I'm not a massive fan of the direction of Assetto Corsa Rally 0.2, and that's crazy because I love the game Assetto Corsa Rally in terms of what it stands for. I love the original version that came out in early access. That was so fun. I also loved all the time I spent with it out in Germany when I flew out to play like at the world premiere. I've been loving it ever since then. But 0.2 to me feels like it's actually maybe a step backward and also gets me worried about Assetto Corsa Rally going forward. So this is going to be a very subtle video. We're going to talk about everything, pros and cons here. This isn't a video that you can summarize in one sentence. So yeah, listen up. And I haven't watched any other videos on Assetto Corsa Rally. I haven't read any other coverage on Assetto Corsa Rally. So I don't know what the prominent feeling is on this, but let me explain to you my perspective. So I'm going to break it down to two things. The first thing for me is the force feedback detail. Whatever they've done in the force feedback detail for 0.2, for me it's now noticeably not as good. And I loved the original Assetto Corsa Rally on my Simucube 2 and Simucube Active pedal. So yes, I'm running on a top of the range setup here. Like, this is as good as it gets, which is what I said in my original videos. I'm very lucky to play it on this incredible setup. Remember, when they develop sim racing games, they have to develop them for G923s. They have to develop them to everything in the middle, going up to Simucube 2s and Simucube 3s, and also they have to develop them for controller as well. So the handling model and the physics and the force feedback needs to kind of handle all of that. Now, my opinion here, driving on Simucube 2 Pro, it's kind of a shadow of what it was before. It's still a fun game, but it was so good before. Like, before, when I was driving on gravel, I could just feel all the gravel. I could feel the tires start to dig in, start to skid, start to dig in again. Like, I could just feel my way through the stage. I could almost drive with my eyes closed. It was that good. It was like, seriously, unbelievably good on my Simucube 2 Pro. Just so much dynamic range and detail. Not really about feeling a load of like heavy load in corners. It was pure detail, right? And now I talk about this a lot when I review sim racing equipment and I review them on regular sims like Le Mans Ultimate, iRacing, Project Motor Racing. I talk about that balance of feeling load and feeling detail, and I've talked about how the Simucube 2 Pro is great for feeling detail. What they've done, in my opinion, here is like, I've lost the detail, and it's a rally game, so I'm not interested in feeling a lot of load, so I genuinely can't feel that much. Now, if I had to guess, I feel like they've tried to make it more realistic, and I've spoken about this a lot, but they've tried to make it more realistic by simulating, if I had to guess, what actually comes through the steering shaft in real life. Because in real life, and I can tell you this from all my real-world racing I've done, you don't feel a lot through the steering shaft. Like, you feel a lot of it through your seat. You're able to feel inertia, G-force. You're able to feel pitch more. You're able to feel roll as well. You don't feel it through the steering shaft. In fact, you want the steering shaft to be as neutral as possible, because that's where you're giving input back to the car. You're really only using the steering shaft to tell the car what to do. In sim racing, the steering shaft is a two-way device, because we get our feedback of what the car's doing through the steering shaft, and we also give our input back. So if you want to be super realistic, you wouldn't send much input back to the staff, and that's why I feel like what Assetto Corsa Rally has done. However, I don't care about ultra realism through the steering shaft, because I'm never going to be a rally driver in real life. This is not a simulation tool for me to become a rally driver. I actually have zero interest of driving a rally stage in real life. I just feel like I'm going to either wrap the car or myself around a tree, and therefore I'm not going to drive anywhere near like I should be doing. It's not like driving on a track, where I like driving on a track. And by the way, we're going to be doing some track days in 2026, so make sure you're subscribed if you potentially want to be part of these track days, because I'm going to blur the lines even more between sim racing and forward racing. But that's on a track. In rallying, I've got no interest in doing that. So this is not a simulation tool for me. This should be a game. And yes, we want it to feel realistic, but we want it to holistically represent and feel like what it feels like to be a rally driver. We don't want to exclude a load of feeling. And that's what I feel like they've done. So now on gravel, it feels worse than before. Tarmac feels worse than before. I can still sense what's going on. Like, when I brake on tarmac now, you can kind of sense the rubber kind of skidding, because there's a very good handling model underneath Assetto Corsa Rally. We know that. But I feel like they're not letting it show now, in my opinion. And again, I don't know if everyone else who's covering this, I don't know if people are covering it on a paid basis, or like on a they can't say certain things. So I don't know if everyone's talking about this or not, and I don't know if everyone's experiencing different things or not, because what I do know is I had a great experience on Assetto Corsa Rally on the original version. I was like, oh my goodness, yes, this is going to be my favorite game to just jump in and drive, because I love the feeling so much. So that's my first issue, is on the forced feedback. Now, I said I was going to talk about two issues. Let me insert a little like bonus one here. It concerns me a little bit that it's a reminder to me that this is an early access game, and therefore they're going to test things. And sometimes they're going to have to test things even if it's not the right thing, and maybe they think it's not the right thing, because you almost need to confirm that the other thing is the right thing. And that's what you do in early access, and that's the right thing to do in early access. So I'm a bit frustrated because this game, I feel like, is going to, if it chops and changes on handling, I don't know in any given month whether I can be jumping on here and having a great experience. At the moment, I'm not having as good experience as I had at launch. And I don't want to sound overly dramatic about it, because these are subtle things, and it might not matter too much if you're not on stuff like a SIMUQ 2 Pro, but I feel like it's my duty to just convey to you as honestly as possible what I'm feeling, and I would have actually liked that detail to have been maintained. Now, the second reason I'm a bit concerned, and this is going to be a little bit harsh, but again, this is from the perspective of thinking, could Assetto Corsa Rally kind of transform sim racing? Could it be a flag bearer for sim racing? Could it be as transformative as the original Assetto Corsa, when you look at how many people are getting into racing and driving because of that, even if it's free roam and kind of messing around? And that's on the content. I said in my review of Assetto Corsa Rally, this is a fantastic game, and all it needs is that regular addition of content. Okay? Now, we've had a big change on the FFB, in my opinion, which has kind of changed that. But on the content, we've got a snow stage, which is fantastic. I love snow. Colin McRae, Rally 2.0, all snow, Subaru Imprezas. Yes, just absolutely. It looks fantastic. The graphics are unreal. The vibe is so good. Again, Assetto Corsa Rally really shines with the different times of day and weather effects you can do, so it feels like a really live place. But the stage is so small, under 1 kilometre, I believe. Now, in isolation, I don't think this is terrible for 0.2 in of itself, because it gets us used to snow, and I'm actually having a lot of fun practicing on this snow stage. I'm really enjoying it. I'm trying different cars, going around, trying to beat my times, working out what's quick, working out how to use a handbrake, and having a load of fun. Like, trust me, it's a load of fun on snow. And yes, it's a short stage, but I can cycle through all the cars, etc. What worries me is this, okay? And let me know in the comments if you have this feeling also, or if it's just me. There is something different about rallying to every other type of sim racing, which is the love idea that you're just driving through pace notes and a little bit of road that you can see ahead of you. Nothing is memorized. So when you're, and that's a satisfaction I get, is that when the pace note driver says, 6 right going into 2 right, and I can't see the 2 right, how late do I leave it before I brake and shift down gears? And if I nail it, I have a sense of reward that for me is beyond anything I do in track racing. When I do track racing, I've practiced the tracks, I've done hundreds or thousands of laps, I know what the apex is. It's a question of, can I execute what I've done before? And it's a different type of repetitive perfection. In rally, it's much more raw, it's much more instinctive, it's much more to the metal. It reminds me more of karting, and going to a new track at karting, when in the championships I've done in the past, you have 10 minutes practice, and then you go into your qualifying and then you race. It reminds me of that, and we're losing that at the moment because there's so few stages in Assetto Corsa Rally that I now have them basically memorized. So I know the corners that are coming up, and I'm no longer relying on that instinct. I'm going into that track mentality. Now, that might be because I'm spending a lot of time in Assetto Corsa Rally, but I don't think I'm spending a huge amount of time in Assetto Corsa Rally. But what it needs from me, it does need that conveyor belt of content, just new kilometers of tarmac, so we can keep exploring in a rallying sense. And they might need to compromise there in the detail that they put into these stages. And they've talked before about doing, when I interviewed them, remember I flew over to Germany, I interviewed the developers here, I let everyone know it's not Kunos developing this, it's Supernova, so don't worry about Assetto Corsa Evo kind of getting sidelined for this. They've got a different development studio, but they were very proud of the laser scan stages, which may or may not have happened in Richard Bear's Rally before, I'm not sure, but they're proud of it. And I just feel like they might need to sacrifice that to keep that variety coming in Assetto Corsa Rally. So those are my two concerns. I would have loved if over Christmas there was more content on the same physics force feedback as before for people to get really stuck into. But, you know, let's see what happens in January. They're talking about monthly updates. If it's going to be meaningful content and they're going to keep explaining what they're doing with the force feedback, then, you know, this is not... I want to be clear, like, I'm still loving Assetto Corsa Rally. I just don't like the direction of the 0.2 update personally. So I hope that makes sense. I told you this was not going to be a video you could summarize into a sentence or two. Please subscribe if you like my honest thoughts on these videos. I'm not paid by Assetto Corsa Rally or not paid by anyone else to talk bad about Assetto Corsa Rally. I just let you know what I think. And I'll see you in the next video.